Where the Dead Fall by M.J. Lee. Read by Dan Bottomley. For Jimmy Hewitt, 1921 to 1992, a true Salford lad, ex-Red Beret, lover of Guinness and Salford Red Devils, who never saw a doctor for 43 years, this book is dedicated to you, Jimmy. 2 days earlier. How long had he been here? Hours? Days? He didn't know. There were no windows to give him any sense of passing time, just a bright neon light beaming through the fanlight above the door. He turned his head and licked the slime-covered wall, tasting the rancid wet mould on his tongue as he searched for moisture. Why was he so thirsty? He licked again, hoping against hope a few drops of precious liquid would coat his tongue and moisten his cracked lips. Nothing. Just the taste of damp, rotten mushrooms. How long had he been here? He shifted position once again, the ropes around his wrists chafing against his skin. As he did, he kicked the plastic water bottle lying at his feet, sending it crashing against the far wall where it spun for a few seconds before coming to rest in front of the door. It was empty anyway, the contents drunk long ago. He should have saved some, not guzzled it all. Why was he so thirsty? He shook his head. Think clearly. An Uber to her house, leaving his Merc in the city. Better, she said. You've had too much to drink, she said. When had that ever stopped him before? In her house, the one her father had left her, she said. Drinking. Drinking what? Vodka and Red Bull, feeling drowsy, waking up alone on the floor, naked except for a pair of blue boxers. What was going on? Screaming, yelling, pounding on the door, again and again and again. Nobody came. Nobody heard. The room seemed to absorb all his noise but gave nothing back in return. Screaming again and again and again, his voice hoarse, his mouth dry, but still nobody came. Then he had stopped, taken a few deep breaths, calmed himself. Why was he here? He had done nothing wrong to her, never. He listened for any noise, the sound of traffic, the wind rustling through the leaves of a tree, the tread of a foot on a step. Nothing. Cold. Hugging himself to keep warm, bare arms tied at the wrists, hooked over bare legs. He would kill her when he saw her again, enjoy every second as she squealed in pain and terror. Then walking, 3 strides and a half across one way, 4 strides the other. Up and down, up and down. It was a box. His box. He had tried biting through the rope holding his wrists together, but it wasn't long before the fibres had cut his gums, the blood tasting metallic in his mouth. He had banged on the metal door again till his hands bled, but still nobody came. Was he going to die here alone? What had he done to deserve this? And then he started crying, snivelling as salty tears ran down his cheeks. His father's voice from long ago in his head, cajoling, threatening. No son of mine is going to bow down to nobody. Now go back and give that bully a kicking. Make sure you hurt him real bad. So he had gone back to school, walked up to the bully during playtime and hit him over the head with a cricket bat stolen from the gym. The boy toppled like a tree, cut down in its prime. Toppled and lay there, unmoving. He got expelled the next day, but his dad was proud of him. That was all that mattered, making his dad proud. He met the bully at the shops a week later. The boy crossed the street to avoid him. A good memory, making his dad proud. He chewed the rope once more despite the pain, twisting his mouth so his canine teeth came in contact with it. He would escape. He wasn't going to be trapped here for the rest of his life. Soon the family would realise he was missing. His father would come looking for him, wouldn't he? His mouth was dry, all spit absorbed by the rope. He stared at his wrists. A few fibres were sticking out from the rope, but otherwise it looked untouched. Why was he so thirsty? He stared at the slime-covered wall in the light from above the door. Could he lick it again? Anything for a few drops of water to moisten his dry mouth. He was about to lean forward when the green slime darkened, vanishing from view. What? What was happening? Were they going to let him go? A shadow covered the door. The handle was turning, the click of a key in the lock, the smell of cigarette smoke filling the room. A man framed in the door, silhouetted by the neon light. It's time we had some fun. Day 1. Wednesday, April the 18th, 2018. Chapter 1. Detective Inspector Thomas Ridpath had a broad smile on his face. It wasn't that he had successfully negotiated the tangle of roads, side roads and unintelligible signage on the transition from the M62 to the M60 ring road around Manchester. It wasn't that he had just come top in his residential course for coroner's officers. The course itself was easy. 10 years as a copper on the main streets of Manchester ensured he could handle a few questions thrown at him by a bunch of pasty-white academics. It wasn't even that he had received the latest all-clear from Christie's Hospital whilst on the course. His myeloma was still in remission. Each month he dreaded the phone call from the doctor. It was like waiting for the axe to fall as he knelt with his head on the block. This month he had another stay of execution. The axeman remained standing above him, though, his axe frozen at the peak of its arc. He had to go back for another checkup on Friday. More cigarettes as the tension built before his appointment. More blood to feed the nurse he had come to know as the vampire. More trembling hands as he waited to see the doctor. Then the nurse calling his name, and the long, awkward 5-yard trek to the doctor's room. Knocking on the door, waiting for the word, enter. The terrible emptiness of anticipation as the doctor examined his results, clicking the buttons of his old NHS desktop and then turning to him to say. Ridpath banished the image from his mind. Think positive thoughts. He smiled broadly again. Tonight was going to be a good night. After 2 weeks away, he would finally be able to see Polly and Eve, his wife and daughter. Not that Polly was too chuffed to see him at the moment. He had blotted his copybook badly during the Beast of Manchester case. She had walked out of the home, taking their daughter with her. At least they were talking to each other now, and, with a bit of luck, he could persuade her to come home. He would have to find a face-saving formula to allow her to come back. A promise of better behaviour in the future should do it, but Polly had a streak of Chinese stubbornness a mile wide threading through her like Blackpool through a stick of rock. Tonight, though, she had agreed he could spend some time with his daughter, taking Eve to see the latest Disney movie. He glanced down at the dashboard clock. 5:28 p.m. The rush hour traffic was heavy as he drove over Barton Bridge, but at least it was still flowing. There should be no problem with time. He'd promised to pick Eve up from Polly's parents' home on Princess Parkway at 6:30 p.m. He was just 20 minutes away at the most. Should be able to stop at the newsagent's and pick up a paper and some fags. He wasn't supposed to smoke. It was another area of contention between himself and Polly, but try as he might, it was a vice he couldn't stop. The doctors nagged him, Polly nagged him, even Eve nagged him. He knew it was stupid, a triumph of pleasure over sense, but he smoked anyway. Sometimes it was better not to reason a need. A car overtook him in the outside lane, a red and white scarf hanging out of the rear window. There must be a United game at Old Trafford tonight. A good job he had timed his return pretty well. An hour later and the road would be full of fans driving to the game. The green dome of the Trafford Centre caught his eye on the left as it bathed in the light of the April sun. He hated the place with a passion. Identikit shops selling the same identikit rubbish. Restaurants producing mountains of overcooked stodge. A voluminous eating hall designed in the shape of the deck of an ocean liner. An air that smelt like it had been filtered through the lungs of 1,000 sweaty elephants. If hell was a shopping mall, then the Trafford Centre was the dead centre. The fact that it was packed with whining scousers on a day out from the prison known as Liverpool made it even worse.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?